This is Ranger Kidwell Ross, editor of WorldSweeper.com and the director of the World Sweeping Association. Today, it's my distinct pleasure, and it will be yours as well, I'm sure, to have a conversation with Tim Letts, who's the product manager for Elgin Sweeper, and he's going to essentially reproduce the presentation he did at the recently concluded PWX Show in San Diego about the All-Electric Broom Bear machine that they unveiled at the show. So with that, I will just turn it over to Tim and let him take it away.
Thank you so much, as always, for having myself. And we'll share my screen. And
all right.
We will be off. Perfect.
Yep.
So for those that could not make it to PWX in San Diego, you missed a good show. San Diego, you can't really beat the weather there. It was my first trip to San Diego, and it lived up to all the hype. So glad I got to go. Elgin, we launched the electric broom bear in March around the Con Expo trade show, and for PWX, we were approached about doing kind of a highlight of it. So this is a presentation that I gave Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon to those in attendance, and I'll just jump right in. There's a few kind of household type slides that PWX wanted us to go through. They had an official conference app, and they were giving away raffling off Amazon gift cards. But jumping into the meat and potatoes of the presentation, this presentation was intended for public works directors and anyone, operators, anyone at the show. And we were not sure if those in attendance would be familiar with Elgin. There's a lot of cool equipment that public works directors use. So we wanted to give an overview of Elgin, and for most of the readers, people watching this video, they'll be very familiar with Elgin, I assume. But we were founded in 1914, and this is kind of a little bit of a highlight of the journey from when we started in 1914 and kind of the progression that we've made. You can see the original three-wheel Elgin machine on the left side of the screen. And then we progressed and started developing machines that were what our customers needed. And the first highlight that we made was in 2002, first bringing a CNG powered street sweeper. This was coming about at the turn of the century. A lot of customers started to look for ways to reduce carbon emissions and really make their fleet a little bit more green. So Elgin kind of, heard the customers asking, and we met the challenge with the CNG machines. It's not highlighted here, but part of what Elgin was founded on is innovation and solving problems. And we don't list all of our innovations and problem solving between 2002 and 2020, but we did actually launch a few products that were noteworthy. In 2007, we launched the new version of our Pelican, a very iconic three-wheeled purpose-built machine. In 2012, we kind of relaunched what we call our four-wheel mechanical line. For those not familiar, I'm sure most are, but that's a truck-mounted street sweepers. That's the Elgin Eagle, a two-engine machine, Elgin Road Wizard, which is also a two-engine machine, and then the Elgin Broom Bear, which is on the screen a lot here, single-engine, four-wheel mechanical truck-mounted sweeper. The other innovation that I highlighted during the presentation was 2018. We launched the Regen X, which is a two-engine regenerative air sweeper, truck mounted again. It's been very popular since we launched it in 2018, and kind of elaborating on that innovation type track record. Just last year, we launched the single engine version of the Regen X as well. That kind of brings us to a good point. In 2020, Elgin worked with some of our customers, and we launched a hybrid version of our Broom Bear. So again, it's a truck-mounted machine. It's available in CNG propelled as well as diesel propelled chassis. And the benefit here is that it's you still have your truck chassis engine, and you can get through your entire shift, though you're also saving and reducing emissions. I'll go more into detail about that in a few different slides. And then we're really proud, 2020 to 2023, it's 3 very short years, especially considering the timeline it takes for a lot of larger automobile companies to innovate. Here we are 3 years later talking about the 100% electric Broom Bear.
Very quick.
Yeah. So we just wanted to highlight, a few of the machines from our early CNG days. We were pioneers in this space. I wasn't at Elgin, but I can imagine that there was a lot of effort put into these sweepers. On the air side, we have our Crosswind. It's a regenerative air truck-mounted street sweeper. For a while, we also offered the Eagle in a CNG version. So both the chassis and auxiliary engine were CNG powered. Still available today is the CNG version of the Broom Bear and CNG version of the Pelican. CNG Broom Bear and Pelican are some of the first ones that we came out with, but also incredibly popular still to this day. Right before PWX, we had a whole slew of CNG Pelicans go down the manufacturing line. So timing worked out really well. They were destined for California. So we're really proud that we were a pioneer in this market. The lessons that we learned while we were developing these machines, as crazy as it seems, I mean, this was turn of the century, 2000s to 2002. A lot of the lessons that we learned while developing these machines were carried over into the hybrid and the electric. So having that history really helped us get to where we are quickly. The next stop on our journey was the hybrids. Street sweepers kind of fall into a unique category, being that they're class 6, class 7 trucks. We were getting a lot of pressure from some of our customers to go electric. But also during that time, they said, we want to go electric, but we can't compromise on all the important things. They wanted the same size hopper. They wanted to be able to operate a full shift. And when this machine was kind of destined to come out, we just couldn't get there. The truck OEMs were focusing on smaller vehicles or larger vehicles, just really where the volume is for truck chassis. And that class 6, class 7 chassis just weren't on their mind. So we came up with a good solution to help meet some of their sustainability targets, reduce emissions, but also you'll see it all over our website, uncompromised performance. Both of the hybrid Pelican and the hybrid Broom Bear, you're still going to have the same sweep path as the diesel or CNG versions of the machine. Same water capacity, same shift capacity. Either one of these machines, though you can plug it in, you don't have to. So let's say you have a fleet of hybrid Broom Bears. Somebody forgets to plug it in, but you get a call at midnight that there was a bad wreck and you need somebody to go clean the streets. Hybrid Broom Bear is ready to go at all hours. You can fill it up with CNG or diesel, hit the road. You're still reducing emissions, but you're still able to go whenever, plugged in or not. So uncompromised performance is the tagline that we came up with, and it's true. We also learned a lot, just like when we went from CNG, from diesel to CNG, excuse me. When we created these hybrid machines, we also took a lot of data and collected a lot of information about sweep performance, sweep routes and stuff like that. And we used that to optimize these particular machines, as well as future machines like the electric that we'll talk about. So everyone always asks with our hybrids, well, if you're talking about a hybrid, how much are you reducing emissions? And with the hybrid, you can see that we're actually getting a pretty good reduction in emissions. I'm blanking on the exact numbers right now, but if you were to start with a diesel and go down just to a CNG, you're going to get about an 18% reduction in carbon emissions per shift. Our CNG hybrid machine further reduces that by about another 10 to 20%, getting us to a total of 270 kilograms per shift of carbon that's reduced. And so you're getting some good, meaningful reduction just by switching to a hybrid machine. And the thing I like to point out, and this is Broom Bear specific, I apologize if I didn't mention that. These are not made up numbers. These are numbers that Elgin collected data on, as well as used the 2021 GREET model from the Argonne National Laboratory. And what this is well-to-wheel emissions. So this takes into account all of the emissions generated when creating the fuel, in this case, diesel or CNG, as well as any of the emissions that are given off when the machine is in service. So well-to-wheel all the way. So again, very good reduction, especially if you're starting with a diesel fleet and you move to a CNG hybrid. Lots of good reduction here. But as the world turns, so do our customers, and so does Elgin, and we're looking to kind of take that next step into our evolution and talk about the electric Broom Bear, which was the star of the show for Elgin, and why I'm here with you again today. So, it's important to note everyone kind of has their own reasons for electrifying. Some people are very interested in electrifying and they want to mitigate climate change. They want to improve air quality. Truth be told, some public works directors are being forced to do it. State and federal guidelines are making them move electric, and that's okay. We know there's a need, whether it's on their own behalf or because they're being forced to do so. One thing that I like to point out, and that's why it's bullet point number 4, with this electric future, you're eliminating so much noise pollution from the environment. It's really quite staggering to see the electric Broom Bear go down the road, because it's so quiet. If you've never heard the brooms on a sweeper turn, now you can. It's really cool. As somebody who has challenges hearing, and my father cannot hear very well, eliminating noise pollution really hits home for me. So it's a overlooked, but I think a very important topic to bring up when talking electric vehicles.
Absolutely. And of course we could go on about is there a need for some kind of little sound that comes out of electric vehicles?
Absolutely. And I'm 99% sure that our next truck that's destined for the West Coast on a customer purchase order will have that. Because I believe it's a state mandate that some sort of audible noise needs to come from it. Again, with the electric Broom Bear, you can hear the brooms turning, so you can hear it, but if those brooms are up, it's silent. So the electric Broom Bear, I kind of gave the introduction and kind of tipped my hand, but when our customers approached us about an electric vehicle all these years ago, they were adamant that they wanted electric, but they didn't want to compromise on performance. So again, uncompromised performance was the target here. And we're very happy that we can get the same performance out of the electric Broom Bear as you can with the diesel, the CNG, or hybrid machines. Again, it's the same sweep path, same debris capability, same dump height, all of those very good statistics that people care about with a sweeper. It's the same on the electric, same water capacity as well. So just like with the hybrids, you're getting the same sweeper as you were previously. It's just now it's an electric one. One of the big things that we've learned along this journey is sticking with OEMs. And I try to be polite about it, but some of the history and some of the lessons learned throughout our journey was when you get third parties involved to remove components or electrify this or make that CNG or whatever the case is, it really makes for a confusing and a heartache for Elgin's customers. Because then if there is service requirements, or unfortunately if there's some sort of mechanical issue that needs to be resolved, you get a lot of people pointing fingers, and it's no one's intending to do so. No one's trying to purposely stall the service or stall the machine to be fixed, but it does happen. So we were very adamant that we wanted to stick with an OEM chassis when we made the electric Broom Bear. Battle Motors, formerly Crane Carrier Company, they've been around for 75 years in the vocational truck market. They had a machine that worked with sweepers. You know, the battery location behind the cab really allows for our sweep equipment to be mounted where it needs to be. There's other players in this market that have this size truck in an electric configuration, but the batteries are just in the wrong spot. And it works really well for applications like delivery trucks and box cars and stuff like that. But for sweepers, it doesn't. So the electric Broom Bear is mounted on the Battle Motors chassis. This is actually a Class 8 chassis, so we upgrade. I'm sorry?
To say, I've done some research also on Battle and some of the other manufacturers, and you know, their affiliation now with Crane Carrier, real strong R&D group and strong product line. So I'd say, inserting here, congratulations to Elgin for choosing Battle. That seems like a real good choice.
Yeah, and Battle has been a really good partner on this journey too. You know, most of the chassis looks very basic and very similar to the other chassis, but they've been very open to kind of reconfiguring it or putting something here if we ask them to. So it's been a very good partnership, very, very good. And you know, in my side conversations, I think there's also a lot of good things going on behind the scenes at Battles. So I expect a lot more from them in the future. So really quick, you know, we did, in order to maintain the biggest thing is water capacity and debris capacity. We did actually strengthen the chassis a little bit. So it's a Class 8 rather than a Class 7. But also part of that challenge, everyone's going to face it, batteries are heavy. So even if even just going to an electric chassis, it's a challenge. Weight is a challenge. We worked really hard to make other improvements on the vehicle, but at the end of the day, to get that uncompromised performance, a little bit stronger of a front axle was required. We also like to point out that the electric has a 400 kilowatt hour battery, so it can handle those shifts. And most importantly for us, you know, we can make a great product, but if we're not there to support it, it's kind of a letdown for us. So we continue to support this vehicle through our dealer network as well as Battle's dealer network. All right, so I laugh because you know, some people would say I should put this earlier in the presentation, but it's the first question we get whenever you're talking about electric vehicle. What's the range? Everyone wants to know. At Con Expo, it was the #1 question. At PWX, it was the #1 question. Everyone asked, well, how long can it go? What's the range? And truth be told, we didn't design this machine to last for so many hours or so many miles. We wanted it to meet what our customers told us was their sweep routes. And we went with a 400 kilowatt hour battery. It's a large battery, the largest that I've seen in our industry. But we're confident that it has enough energy on board to handle everyone's shifts, even their grueling shifts that are, you know, uphills both ways. It can handle it. And through the customer testing that we've done, the 400 kilowatt is certainly enough. Our target was an 8-hour shift, and realistically, a 12-hour shift can be completed without issue. The engineers will tell you theoretically it can do a lot more, but it can handle a 12-hour shift and still get back to the depot without any range anxiety settling in. As always, you know, if something was crazy to happen, it can work with a level 2 or level 3 charger. You can charge it at your depot. You can charge it at at the local charging facility. So if you were on a shift and if it didn't have enough juice for whatever reason, you can stop at Walgreens or your local drugstore, wherever you can find a charger, plug it up and get enough juice to get back to the depot. What we found, you know, a little bit off topic here, but what we found is some of our customers have been charging it overnight, over the weekend, excuse me. So it's, you know, 100% once it gets to, once it starts the week on Monday, and then they'll run it and then they'll plug it in overnight, Monday to Tuesday. And, you know, you're not always getting back to that 100%, but because there's enough energy, if you charge up to 90% to start Tuesday, you still have more than enough to get through Tuesday, etc. So what customers have been doing is just really using the weekend to top it off instead of overnight. So back to reduction in emissions. And, you know, I've took the liberties of taking the same data from the hybrid Broom Bear and just adding in the fully electric. And again, this is well-to-wheel emissions. So it's taking into account everything required for the fuel generation, as well as any emissions that the vehicle is actually giving off during its operation. And that's why you see some emissions related to the electric. When it's actually in operation, it's not emitting any carbon. The 68 kilograms per shift is actually calculated emissions to generate the fuel or the electricity for that, for the machine. So, you know, going from 450, what's that?
What a drop from diesel.
Yeah, no, it's huge. It's about 35%, no, 85%, excuse me, 85% reduction going from a diesel to a full electric. And truth be told, I mean, even the reduction from CNG to electric is huge. You know, I think that was about 78%. And some customers will do that, but a lot of customers are also going to go from diesel to electric. So it's an enormous amount of emissions that we're removing from the air.
Sure.
One thing that has certainly come up on our journey, beyond just making the machine, is that grants and incentives, federal, states, whatever, is a big part of this equation. You know, our machine, like every other electric vehicle out there, whether it's commercially available or you know, a vocational truck, there's a certain price increase going to an electric vehicle, and it's people have been caught off guard by that. But there's a lot of state and federal grants out there. We at Elgin have been working since I started with the company to understand all of these programs and what is going to help move this forward. So we like to talk about this because we've been studying it, myself and my colleague Daryl. We spend a lot of our time going through all the state and federal funding programs. So we like to throw it out there that we're certainly, we make sweepers and that's our forte, but we're comfortable enough talking about these programs to at least help people understand what's out there and maybe point them in the right direction of who to talk to. So if anyone is watching and you're interested, but you see the price tag, there's probably, well, there's national programs available to help reduce some of the cost. And at some instances, like Seattle has a really good program going on. So that's a state one. Oftentimes you can kind of stack the programs on top of each other. Not all the time, but it certainly can be done. So we're here to help in this regard as well. So yeah.
And is that something that is available on on one of your website pages, or?
So it's not on our website. You know, it is all public knowledge though, but we do try to keep some of it just because we have devoted a lot of time. So we're happy to discuss anything when people reach out, but some of it is, you know, we're keeping it close to those that are interested, but we'll happily talk to anyone if they're interested.
So if they contact their Elgin dealer, that's information they can come up with.
Absolutely. Yeah. This has been distributed with our Elgin dealers, so they have it. It's just not on our elginsweeper.com.
Perfect. It's only fair.
Yeah. So that's what I went through. It was at PWX, it was well received. We actually had a large portion of the people in the audience were from Canada. There's a big push in Canada to move electric. They actually have a really good funding program going on right now. And our sweeper is available for that program. So we had a lot of conversation, a lot of back and forth in person with those Canadian residents about it. So that was everything I talked about. So you've been in this industry a long time. I'm guessing you might have a question or two, and anything you have, I'm curious to learn.
Well, that's a very nice presentation, and I think you answered most all of those questions. I do have a couple.
Yeah, of course.
Are you going to be moving to any other models? Is anything in the works there that you can talk about?
Yeah, so if range was question number one, next models was probably 2 or 3. And we do have a plan to electrify, a lot more than just the Broom Bear. Timing wise, it's there's a lot going on at Elgin. So timing wise, it's hard to say exactly when it is, but we recognize that there's a market for more electric sweepers out there.
The hard part when you're an early adopter is, Elgin's leads the way in so many ways, is to know when it's the, market sensible to come out with something. We've seen first adopters fall to the side in some areas as time's gone on. This seems like one that isn't going to be a fad, though.
With how much money the federal government has really been pushing into this industry, I mean, I don't think it's a fad either. I think this is going to be definitely here for the long run.
Yeah, it sure seems like it. What's if I ordered a Broom Bear today and I happen to have enough credit to buy one, what kind of time frame are we looking for delivery, or for if I talk to one of your dealers and they say, well, here's who to talk to in your state, here's the federal program, what kind of time lag is likely for us to get through all that paperwork and get the grant and move forward?
Yeah, so that's a good question, actually, but I unfortunately I don't have an exact answer for you. Each one of the programs is kind of different. Some of the programs you have to simply have a quote from Elgin, and then you submit your paperwork, and then they say, okay, well, you're clearly interested. Here's the price. You've been approved. Other ones you kind of have to make your case, build out like a business case, and then get the quote, and then place the order with Elgin. So each program is a little bit different, and they all have their own kind of window as far as when to do the first steps and when you'll get the approval. I will say with production, we work with a variety of truck OEMs, and the electric chassis has some of the shortest delivery compared to those diesel and CNG machines. So if you were to place an order with us for an electric, there's a strong likelihood it could be delivered before a diesel one anyway.
Yeah, there's been so much challenge in the diesel chassis. Boy, it's
I keep thinking we're going to get through that, but here we are talking about another model year and another model year of challenges.
And whether that's chips or not. I watched the Apple presentation was for their new products was last night. And one of the things that stuck out for me, now I'm showing my age here by saying when I was in maybe preteens, I had a transistor radio, and it was to my ear all the time. And I don't know if there was more than one transistor in that in that radio or not, if that's a single transistor that was bringing me that. But Apple said that with their new watch, that there were 2.9 billion transistors on the, doesn't make sense to me.
Technology moves incredibly fast.
Incredible.
Those,
Yeah,
though, I was gonna say those iPhones that were announced yesterday are multiple times stronger than the computer I got when I went away to college. And that was so.
I get it. I started with a Commodore 64 and got $100,000 in venture capital financing at one point for another project I was on, just by having a word processor and being able to make things look nice. And,
Sure.
come a long way since that too. I still have that Commodore 64 boxed away someplace.
That might be worth something one day.
You
Smart
never
choice.
know. Well, I think that that really covers it. Although I will tell anybody that's watching this that if you have questions, you can direct them to WorldSweeper, or you can direct them to Tim. We'll have his contact information available, and you know, they're glad to help answer any of those questions. So
yeah, we're here to help. Thank you for your time, Ranger. As always, it's been a pleasure, and look forward to talking about more green. I mean, again, green is kind of a personal topic for me, so I'm very vested in it, and look forward to talking to you about more green topics in the future.
I look forward to that as well. Thanks a lot, Tim.
Thanks, Ranger.
So